Hello, everybody, and welcome to this. Well, it's a different kind of video that I'm doing today. It's the first interview that I'm fully doing, at least on this channel. And I'm here showcasing a kind of a brand new up and come rising project that a couple of people that all of you, or at least most of you in the audience, should recognize. It's a game called Alea, and it's kind of being spearheaded by my three friends here, mainly one, but the other two are helping in tremendous ways. But I'm here with Trex, Falco Punch, and Potato Graham. And could one of you, each of you, sorry, one at a time, please explain kind of who you are, what do you guys do? We'll start with
Sure, yeah.
Trex.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. So I'm Trex. I am lead programmer, founder, CEO, I don't know, everything, accountant for the game. Uh yeah, I do just about everything. I'm kind of like the leader. Um we can probably get more into specifics later, but that's like my various titles.
All right. And Falco.
Wow, you're so cool. Uh, I'm Falco Punch. I am a washed up streamer and I am a 2D and UI UX person, visual designer. I'll just give myself all the titles. So I did all the UI and stuff, and I yell at Trex a lot for improving the UX experience of the game. Woohoo!
All right. And finally, Pat.
Hello, I'm Pat. I'm mainly a 3D artist, but by necessity, I've kind of become a jack of all trades. And yeah, I do pretty much most of the 3D work on the game, including making the character models, rigging them, animating, all that good stuff.
I love that. So thank you for that. Before we kind of fully dive into it, just going to briefly go over the segments. So what the audience will expect, and I'm going to put timestamps in the video, of course. So if you feel like you want to jump to certain points of the interview, by all means, feel free to. But we're going to run in starting with basically what is the game, and then from there we're going to go into design. We're going to go to characters, the roadmap on the official Alea website, as well as marketing. And then if we have time after all of that, we can get into the company and then the community. So, with all that said and done, one one final thing I want to ask, specifically to Trex. I know we said it before the recording started, but I want it here in the open so that it's that there is actual confirmation from you. Can I show gameplay from your alpha streams in this interview for this video?
Yeah, totally, totally.
All right, thank you very much. So, without further ado, let's get into it. What is Alea? I know you've probably had this question plenty of times, Trex, but give me the pitch of the game. What exactly is the project?
Sure. Probably for your audience specifically, I came up with like a slightly more modified pitch where I said it's gigantic meets World of Warcraft in Rome. That's like that's specific to you guys. More generally, I pitch the game as a fantasy hero battler.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of occupy. There's no real direct comparison. It kind of occupies a space right now that is like, I suppose you could say somewhere in between a hero shooter and a MOBA. But even inside of that, I think is kind of a pretty vague and open space. There's really nothing directly comparable to this right now. The game Gigantic would probably be, well, I suppose actually that game does exist. So I guess Gigantic is probably the most directly comparable game. You will play as various heroes. They each have 4 abilities at a time that they can switch between. And you do like fantasy combat. It's all third person. It's all over the shoulder camera, locked camera, and you got abilities and you fight.
Yeah.
I pitch it.
And I mean, it is kind of it is kind of interesting that you're bringing up that there's not really anything very much like it at all on the market, and I think that's kind of still true even with Gigantic still existing, as little of existing as it is, unfortunately. But it's I have played a couple games myself. It's been very nice. I'm very impressed with how fluid it is personally. And I just kind of love the way that everything looks, the way that everything feels. you know, there's only 3 characters at the moment, but those 3 characters feel really fleshed out, and they kind of have these very congruent, you know, kits and stuff, and it's really impressive, honestly. Like that is that's really the first thing I kind of want to bring to the table. So since we kind of brought up gigantic, uh, I feel like that is a pretty self-explanatory answer to the question. But what are kind of the inspirations of creating this game? Like, how did you get from the start of this to where you are now?
Um, let's see. Inspirations I mean, I'll just say my own. So for me, obviously, yes, Gigantic's a big inspiration, but also World of Warcraft, like at least the early versions of it are a big inspiration. It's a totally different type of game, but I do pull a lot from there. There's a lot of timeless stuff I feel in that game. A lot of the class archetypes, things like that. I think if you read the tooltips for our game, I think all the abilities are named after World of Warcraft abilities, or like 90% of them, or something
A
like that.
nerd.
Yeah.
So that's a big one. There's a little bit of Battle Right in there, which is a game from like 2017, I think. Um, and there's some Super Smash in there too, which like not really mechanically or anything like that, but I do think about Smash a lot because at least in more abstract ways, where like Smash is a game with a huge character roster, a ton of items, and all this stuff that is like, at least on the surface, it's a lot of complexity, and yet it remains like a casual game, or at least it's as casual as you want it to be. And so I think about that game a lot as well. Because we are a casual competitive game. I guess I could have put that in the pitch as well. Like, we're not really like a hyper competitive game. It really is more like casual competitive. So I pull from Smash a lot there as well. But I'm sure you guys have your inspirations as well.
Yeah, growing work in progress. Belko, Pat, do either of you have any kind of influence on what gets, you know, fully put into the gameplay experience?
Uh, I mean, for me, it's kind of like this sounds stupid, but actually, my time at High Res, we worked on a game that was called like oh my god, I'm forgetting what the fuck the name was called.
Is it
Anyway, it was
is it Divine
like
Knockout?
yeah, that's it. I like already forgot what I worked on. Right, Divine Knockout. And that game was Super Smash in a 3D space. And I think like a little bit of that, but also like the UI style I worked on is literally this fantasy like Greek Roman. So it's actually like kind of pulling from that again. And something I'm obsessed with personally on a UI side is Hades. I love outlines lately. So I'm forcing us to put it everywhere and also like what's the word, bring more life to shadow and light in the game. I'm really tired of seeing like really dark shadow blacks in like environments. So we've aimed to like warm it up and cartoonize even our environment a lot. So for me, that's kind of my influences. I thank you for helping me with the name of the game I worked on that I forgot. Thank you.
Yeah, I did play it for a little while, and then I just kind of I don't know. I
Yeah.
personally couldn't fully get into it, but it
Oh
was
yeah.
very fun, and it was very nice to look at. So, you're welcome.
Yeah. I don't really have too much more to add to that because I think Trex and Falco pretty much summed up a lot of it. Yeah, like for me, before Gigantic came out, I never really even played multiplayer like battle arena games. So I think just the unique art style of Gigantic really inspired me to kind of like get involved in that type of game. And yeah, so clearly like um, crazy, like fun, cartoonish characters is a real inspiration for me. And, seeing Trex be able to kind of um, make the gameplay smooth, like you said, and really feel kind of like the spirit of Gigantic is there. Um, yeah, I think that's one of my big inspirations.
Love that. So, kind of continuing off of that, why do you guys think that people will like this game versus other things that are currently on the market?
Well, I think this is like the type of game there's kind of like broad. If you get like really broad, there's kind of like two types of games I feel you can make. Like you can make a game that is sort of like in a genre, pleasing the people of that genre or whatever. Then you can make something that's like a little bit different. Um, and we're kind of in like the second category. Like I said, like there's not really anything out there. Like if you, this is like an itch you can't scratch. If you like this type of game and like combat like this, and like this sort of like casual competitive, I think really if you just like a casual competitive game at all, there's not much for you. I mean, you got Fortnite. Um, but that's like kind of it. Like, you know what I mean? And if that's not your thing, well, I suppose that's not your thing. You could just like wait a few weeks and it's like always drastically changing. But if you were like if you really like fantasy combat, and if you really like this sort of casual competitive thing, there's just like nothing out there for you, I feel. So I feel like that's a big part of it. And additionally, I have always liked a game that is like somewhere in between all of these things. Like I tend to get very bored with the hero shooters, though I do enjoy them. Yeah, I get burnt out of them like very quickly. And I just don't have the patience to sit down and learn something like League of Legends or something. I was joking with them. They wanted me to play Supervive, and I looked up like a video, and it was like everything you need to know to play Supervive. It was like 57 minutes long. And I was just like, dude, I can't do it. You know, so our game definitely exists somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. So I think that's probably the big selling point for liking it.
Mm-hmm. And just really briefly, because it was kind of already touched upon, and I know my majority audience will already kind of know the answer, but for those that might have just kind of stumbled into this video, what separates this game? Like, what makes it more unique? Not just by, looks or the casualness, but like the actual mechanics of the game. What is like the big selling point that kind of totally makes it unlike anything else?
Yeah, in that case, I would say the combat is something that is you're just not really going to find it anywhere else. At least I haven't found it right now. So it's very smooth. It's very like movement oriented, but also strategic. You've got a stamina bar, so while you can move all around, you can't do it forever, and you have to kind of like pick your spots. It's got like a good balance of offense and defense. Um, I compare it to basketball a lot. Like most of the time when people do game design, they're talking about like other video games, but it is sort of like basketball. Like you have to play both sides of the ball. You got to be able to play offense and defense, and it's not like football. They're not coming out and switching teams. Like it's happening all in real time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've got all kinds of roles. We've got well, not right now, but eventually we're gonna have tanks and healers and DPS and all this, and it's all just kind of like blended together pretty seamlessly. Like you said it, like I was happy to hear you say it earlier. You said it's all very congruent, like it all just kind of meshes together and feels right and intuitive. Um, and so I think if I were to say one thing, it would be the sort of smoothness, speed, fluidity, and just kind of like overall fun, the overall game feel of the combat. I would say that's what's going to separate it.
Right.
Yeah, I want to add to that
Go
just
ahead.
just for a second because it's an interesting idea to take away upgrades and instead we have stance switching, which is pretty much like you're just switching like your complete move set. So I really think that is pretty unique with this and it's pretty easy for people to pick up because you're not actually having to upgrade anything in the middle of battle or anything. It's just kind of like, okay, you got to learn what you do, but the ability to switch between two different kits basically is pretty unique, I think.
Right. I do
Yeah.
kind of like that facet. And I do want to get more into that, but we're gonna wait until the actual character section because I do have a big
Sorry.
question on that part. No, you're good. Absolutely. I think it's important to the question. But let's move on to the design kind of portion. So this is a little more probably that Falco and Pat can talk about. Um, but by all means, Trex, please feel free to chime in. Why the Greco-Roman style? Like what really solidified like this is exactly what we want the game to look like?
Yeah, that is a good
Uh,
question.
yeah, yeah. What do
Um,
you guys can take this one?
well, yeah, no, I was gonna say, at least for me personally, I have always loved like Greek mythology ever since I was little. Um, and so I think it's just like a really cool theme, and um, yeah, there's like all sorts of things we can draw upon from there, especially because of the Roman Colosseum was kind of one of the inspirations, since like our current mode is like more arena style. Um, and not only that, but like in ancient times in the Colosseum, they had warriors fighting that they found in like all these different areas of Europe and Africa and stuff. So you can kind of expand um, that outwards to other cultures that are kind of where we're all touched by, the Greco-Roman world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's also just kind of fun because yeah, there's not a lot of games that have this theme. And I mean, I love Hercules in general. So big fluffy clouds, you have a lot of like gods. Oh god, maybe this is the Smite influence on me. Now I'm just thinking about it. But it's also like the characters are a little bit easier to come up with than let's say like something very complicated like using, Devin Katie Lee as a concept artist. So that was definitely part of it too, honestly.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, do you think that this style and kind of not not just with the art, but even with going on fully developing like characters and their gameplay, like do you think that this style makes it easier to create kind of new things and expand kind of the full deep mythological spectrum?
Uh, I mean, personally, yes, because there's just so much to draw upon. Like there's gods, there's monsters in in these time periods. There's also like Egyptian things we could draw on. Like all these like places were close, in terms of like thematics. So there's so much to draw on, and I think honestly the kits are pretty easy. They seem to come together pretty easy. Trex is has been really good with that. He's mostly been the one designing them. I'm just here to help with the aesthetics.
Make things look pretty.
Try.
So let's move on to the kind of the maps and the game modes. Pat kind of briefly said it. The current game mode that you guys are really working on, or at least kind of showcasing in this current alpha state that you're in, is this arena, and it's kind of fluctuating based on the amount of players that you have currently. But I think Trex, what you said is you want it to go as high as like 5v5 even, or is that kind of still on the table?
Yeah, I think in the most recent update or an update or two ago, like I did break it out into like 1v1, 2v2, and 3v3, but that's really just for like clarity purposes or whatever, so that
Hmm.
people can just kind of, get faster queues and queue for what they want. Yeah, we're we're experimenting with the size of this one. Like this is definitely this is like the more open-ended game mode in terms of team sizes because it can support a lot. I suppose ideally I want to support a range for all of them, but yeah, we're starting out with this arena mode, and then we've got some others that we're going to work up to, probably like in order of complexity, which I can also talk about if you want.
Yeah, how many game modes will there be? Because I've kind of seen it on some of the alpha gameplay, and there'll be links to your channel, because you kind of expand upon it in some of those alpha footage, just chill streams. But how many kind of game modes will there be? Kind of like, what are you planning for?
So we plan for, I believe, five. So we have the arena mode, a control point mode, a capture the flag mode. So those two have already been prototyped. Power race mode, which is sort of similar to gigantic. Actually, that's prototyped as well.
Mhm.
Um, and then I kind of have this like sort of like, you could call it a battle royale, but it's not. I mean, it'd be like, I mean, it is, but it'd be like 10 people or something, like some sort of like 10-person free for all mode with like a single objective in the middle, kind of like the gladiator mode, really. Like we're just kind of throwing everybody in one big arena. So I don't really know. That one is not prototype. That one's kind of up in the air, but those five are like the main modes. We're definitely a multi-game mode game.
It's really exciting. I kind of hope that process goes really quickly. But what are you most focused on right now? You know, like what is like the big what's like the real big thing for this arena mode that you're really trying to get nailed down?
For the arena mode, I mean, the mode itself is pretty straightforward. So I mean, as far as I can tell, the testing on that has been fine. What we're really trying to work on right now is just making sure the combat is good, making sure the game is stable. Like arena basically provides like the smallest possible route to like getting to a full end-to-end experience. And so we're really just trying to hammer home stability, bug fixing, things like making sure like the game works on like a low NPC, which like it doesn't right now. Spoiler alert. So things like
No.
this. Yeah. Or I think it works, but I don't know. There's some quirks or whatever. So just trying to use this as like a. It's also like fun enough. Like it's pretty fun. Like people have been having like a pretty good time playing. So we can onboard people. Like it's kind of like our. It's like dipping your toes in. You know what I mean? Like we're cooking up a lot of stuff. This is just kind of like the first one.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about a little bit of the programming side of the whole thing. I feel like this is entirely you, Trex. Like what's it like basically doing all of the coding and the back work by yourself?
Uh, it's a lot. it's uh, it's made. I was joking with them. It's made me want to like do a single player game or something later in my life. Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I'll say if anybody is watching it and they're like a dev or like thinking about being one or whatever, like just do not make a multiplayer game. Like you definitely do not like first. I mean, you do it, later, but it's a lot. And it's not just the programming. I mean, you have to go through the whole multiplayer networking model, like every action that is taken in the game, like you don't just program the state of that action, you have to program it over the network. And so you have this whole like mental model you have to become like intimately familiar with. But additionally, when you make a multiplayer game, you just are bringing in layers and layers of outside complexity that is just like no matter how much you QA, like you're just not gonna figure it all out, and you have to bring in all these like outside services, and you've got to run servers, and you've got to. So it's a lot. That being said, as much as I might complain about it, like it is very fulfilling. Like it is certainly of anything I've done in my life, the most technically like challenging. Like it is definitely the biggest technical challenge I've ever done in my whole life. So I am very proud that I'm like doing it.
Mhm.
But it is also I am gonna like complain about it while I do it though.
Yes, I do believe that I do believe the quote from Falco's stream is something along the lines of I haven't had a full night's sleep for the past year and a half or something like that.
Yeah, that's about true. Yeah, I've lost count of how many all nighters or whatever. Cause yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's like very labor intensive. But I
Yeah,
do like it. Like don't get me wrong. But it's also a lot.
for sure.
Rex is a beast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's times he's like, let's meet tomorrow. And then we're like, okay, where are you? And he wakes up at like 4 p.m. and he's like, sorry, it was all night working.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
So, speaking of the kind of the all-nighters, I imagine that there are definitely countless hours and hours of trying, trial and error of exactly how you want certain things to work. And the programming is nothing that I really know about, coding and stuff. I have absolutely zero idea how any of that works. But if you can kind of elaborate a little bit for in the layman's terms, what have been like the biggest hurdles that you've gone through, kind of getting from where you started to now?
Let's see. There are a couple ones that are small that are just kind of funny. I feel like any programming project you encounter these, like you have a couple features that are just like they just seem to always be biting you in the ass. So for us, I would say the two things um is the warrior shield and the mage's snowman. It seems like no matter what, some like you make a change and some bug seems to just somehow creep into those two particular elements like all the time. Um in particular the snowman. Um, but really, I would say, I mean, at this point, like I've been doing it so long, like I was saying to them earlier, like, I wake up, I look at my tickets. Yeah, I wake up, it's 4, 5, 6 p.m. I look at my tickets and I'm like, okay, I know how to solve like this problem, but it's not even just the knowing, it's the doing. Like, like you have to just like when you're dealing with something like Unreal Engine and all these different tools, knowing is not even half the battle. Like you might have it solved in your head and it might not be fully implemented for like in some cases like a month, like, because you just have to connect all these like giant pieces of like machinery. It's like you got to take Unreal Engine and then you got to package the game, and it's like, well, that's a totally different beast than doing it in the editor. And then once it's packaged, it's got to talk to Epic Online Services, which has to talk to our server orchestrator to spin up a server. And yeah, I feel like increasingly I think of myself almost less like a programmer, more like I'm like managing like a factory or something, and like the machines all require like maintenance and they're always like breaking, like,
The
and
ringleader.
yeah, like it's like, oh no, this machine broke and that machine broke and I gotta fix it, and it's like, and then I gotta have it all fixed for Saturday so we can play test. So that's I would say those are really, and that's not really what you think of either. Like when you get into it, you think it's like, I don't know. You think it's like, oh, I bet matchmaking is really hard or this ability is really hard. It's like, no, no, no. It's just like connecting all of the different pieces together and like keeping them stable. All your different dependencies or whatever. That's really, I would say, the biggest challenge.
100%.
I'm glad I don't do that.
Yeah.
She's
Well,
Yeah.
Falco and Pat, I'm gonna throw you on the spot a little bit. Have there been any kind of like artistic hurdles that you guys have had to sort of work through?
go first, Pat.
Sure. Yeah, let's see. So, one of the big hurdles for the 3D side is trying to, how should I put this? Be efficient with the character rigs and animations. Um, Basically, we're trying to like keep, we don't want like 8 billion different rigs all being in the game at the same time. So we're trying to keep, all the humanoid characters having the same like base skeleton structure, and so they can technically share like some animations, but it that was like a technical hurdle because um originally like the characters were more similar in their like proportions and stuff, and then we decided to really get more exaggerated. Like the warrior has like a giant chest, and um you know so like they're all just different shapes and sizes now. So we kind of threw out the idea of having shared animations altogether, but we still want the reduced like performance hit by having them share skeletons. And so kind of building that system out was challenging, but we made it work. And yeah, all the characters so far do share the same skeleton. And so like for example, the archer has like extra like the wings. Rob helped us create this system where we actually just attach the wings during. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like during runtime. Um,
Yep. Yep. They're treated like gear basically.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's like like the archer has his base skeleton that is shared across all the characters, and then anything extra can just get added onto it.
It's really
And
cool.
so lining up animations and that kind of thing has been a learning experience. But I don't know, after trial and error, it's like we kind of have our little systems down, and it's much easier now. It's like clockwork now.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So it's really all just like the upfront setup, and yeah, that was the hard
Yeah.
part.
I'll even add to that slightly, like between me and Pat, like we've got it now where uh like when we make a new character, for example, because of some of the stuff I've been able to program and because he was diligent about this sort of like modular or not even a module. It's more like a rig. It's just a shared rig between all the characters. Um, we've got it down now to where like when we spin up a new character, uh, there's just like 2 or 3 like data assets that Pat has to populate, and that's it. Because they all share animation state. So like it's all data driven. So he just like makes the animations, drops them in like the equivalent of like a spreadsheet basically, and then like they just work. That's it. As opposed to like having to remake these, like if you know anything about it's like state machines and montage layers and all this stuff, like it's all the same for all the characters. So it works really well.
It's very efficient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it had to be.
It-
That's like born of necessity.
yeah, it's cool. Like you said, these little data assets. It's almost like drag and drop. I create all the necessary animations, import them into Unreal, and I can just plug them in.
Well,
It's really nice.
since we are talking about more in depth on the characters, let's actually move on to that segment. And I mean, this question basically already got answered, but I just kind of want to hear more elaboration on it. Like, who created these models and all these animations? You know, Pat, like, where did how did you get all that done?
Yeah, so that would be me who did all of those. Um, and yeah, no, it was definitely it's a lot of work to do that. But that kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the art style, choosing kind of an established theme, like the Greco-Roman style, kind of helped simplify things, and as well as just the overall art style of being kind of limited detail, like solid colors, uh, really like cartoony shapes. That also really simplified things. So, if you look at the warrior, the idea was okay. He's like a Spartan warrior type thing. He has like a bronze breastplate, helmet with the red plume. He's got a couple battle scars and a giant sword. So um, it was like a lot of the effort went into making sure the silhouette looks good rather than thinking about all this extra detail. So having the characters be really simplified like that um, really sped up that process, at least for the modeling. And then for animations, that was kind of like I was talking about with the hurdles. It was kind of a lot of trial and error, going back and forth with Trex as we were like implementing stuff in the game. It's like, okay, these animations are great, but the timing doesn't work with the gameplay, and so we kind of just over time uh, built like this psychic link, and so now Trex can like ask me for an animation, and I know exactly what to do, and can just
Yeah, very real.
like less iterations. Before it would be maybe like I would make an animation and we'd have to go back to it like 5 times. Now I can get it on the first try, maybe with a little bit of feedback, and get it done on the second try. So it's just again, it's all that upfront kind of learning the process and what works and what doesn't. That was really the the majority of the workload, and now it's a lot easier, especially because like you mentioned before, we only have 3 characters currently that are completed. So right now I've been able to spend a lot of time on each character just because we don't have that many so far.
Yeah, and every character does feel very much alive. Kind of I've enjoyed just, even though I'm not exactly the best with aiming a bow and arrow in most games, like I still enjoy playing the archer sometimes because of the fact that it's just fun to watch him move. I love the way that the wings flap. I love like uh the 2 different bows on the stance switching. The mage has totally different animations, and then the warrior pulls out the sword and shield, and then the big sword with the stance switch. It's just really fun. Um, how did you guys kind of decide, uh, kind of backtracking a little bit. So something that Falco said, how did you guys like really finally decide that you wanted to do a stance switching instead of like, um, instead of upgrades and in to some extent even like ultimates? Like none of the characters in the game have an ultimate right now. Is that part of like why you wanted to do stance switching too?
Yeah. Um, yeah, that was like a decision that we sort of just kind of like learned by doing. Um, we knew at the start that like traditional ultimate system was probably not going to work. Um, and the reason for that, put simply, is just that it's very limiting with the game modes you can do. Um, you either have to have very few game modes, kind of like a hero shooter, or you have to like really pull back like what the alt is, and it doesn't feel very ultimate, and then you can maybe have some more game modes. But I personally, I'm just not really a big fan of them. I think they flatten out gameplay a lot. Um, there's less like dynamism, I think. And so we had this idea that we would just have like a special move, I think, something like this at first, where it's like it could just be anything. And I believe the Warriors was that he would swap. That was like originally his special move, but it was not intended to be used for everyone. And then over time, yeah, a lot of these decisions are born of necessity as well. It's like over time we realized like, we need to like reduce scope a little bit. It's like, well, if we got rid of upgrades, what would happen? Um, and the answer was really that the warrior was the character that still felt the best. And that's simply just because he had more stuff he could do. And so then we kind of experimented like with the mage came along, and we did the same thing. And that was like by far and away everybody's like favorite character. And so eventually we just sort of settled on this model where it's like, well, we can still have quite a lot of depth to these characters, uh, but less of it is up front. Like you only ever have 4 abilities at a time,
Hmm.
so it's like less jarring up front. You still get a pretty decent amount of like depth of strategy. Even when I watch people like stream the game now, like you pick up on like, oh, the warrior pulled out the two-handed weapon. It's like that means it's attack time. It's a nice little moment that you kind of don't really get. It's like a visual cue. I mean, I'm saying like someone else's. You're fighting against a warrior. And you see that, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna behave differently. And it's like I just kind of liked it, to be honest. Like we tried it, it worked. We kind of liked it, and it allows us to have like pretty much any game mode we want. Like when you don't have these big ultimates like hanging over your head all the time, you can kind of just make like any game mode because the characters are a little more like they're a little more even, and there's less like spiky damage or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
less like automatic eliminations or whatever. And so once you have that, you can have more game modes, which is also something we definitely want to do.
Sounds great. Um, I wanna also ask, and not what I'm about to ask. I don't want to hear just the kind of the kits. I kind of also want to hear the artistic and kind of the shape and look and feel of them as well. How much have these characters changed like since you started? Because in the alpha footage that I've watched, I actually noticed that the archer had like a full on healer mode. Like the arrows healed and
Oh yeah,
shot friends instead of
Oh my
enemies.
god.
Um, and
yeah,
then and then the warrior, like you've changed a lot of the way that his animations look, and he
yep.
kind of initially had like these gold, like bright, almost like holy looking animations, and now he's kind of more like a thunder lightning kind of subcaster. So like how much have these characters really changed? Like how many iterations are there, would you say?
Yeah, they've definitely gone through a few. I think the mage has mostly been unscathed from getting like too much changed. Um, yeah, the warrior originally had like a stock model. He wasn't. He was like skinny, and yeah, he had like much different animations, and we had all like this is like before we had any money at all, so we really weren't sure like what we could do or not, and so we had like all uh like temporary. Well, they weren't temporary at the time. Visual effects, and we hadn't really even established like a visual effect language, and so he was kind of like all over the place. I think the core of his kit has more or less remained the same. definitely some things have changed. I can't really remember all the different ones. He definitely has been like offensive, defensive. The mage has always been fire and ice, with fire being closer up, higher AOE damage and all that. The archer went through a lot of changes. He was a healer at one point, yeah, and people just hated that though. Yeah, you were supposed to shoot arrows at your friends, but they're kind of hard to hit.
Hmm.
So like, it was just very frustrating for people. Like they're trying to heal their friend and it's like not working, and then it was double bad because it was trying to hit people with the arrow, which is already hard. But then on top of that, it was also like you had to switch into the healing like stance in order to heal. So people would like forget to do that, and then their arrows aren't healing and they're asking why. It was just like it was not good. That's why there's no healer in the game. It's just he was supposed to be, and we kind of had to move it around. So, so they've changed a lot. But I even before that, I mean, we were at one point a whole different IP. Like we were like a whole different, much more ambitious like IP. So like at one point, what is like now the warrior was like a robot. At one point,
Yeah.
he was like a big robot with like a big like electronic face, and he kind of
Hmm.
looked like an egg. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
like a whole we had
Miss
like a whole
him.
different IP. Yeah, it was again one of these things where we said like, well, if we're gonna do this all by ourselves, like what can we do? Like how can we shrink the scope of the game into something that is manageable by just a few people? But yeah, we had this whole other IP, very ambitious, still sitting on it, but it was definitely out of scope for like what a indie team could do. But yeah, he was a robot at one point. Uh, there's all kinds of like goofy stuff like that, and I have footage of this. Like I'll post it at some point, like all the different like ways things looked. Um,
Hmm.
Everybody was just a skeleton at one point, like literally,
Yeah. I
with
miss
like a
those
top hat.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah, Skullsworth was his name.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Top hat and a monocle.
And yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's amazing.
Man. Yeah. Just not enough of a team to do something like that. It's kind of like it's one of those things you only know after you worked on something for so long and you're like, you know what? Stop being ambitious. We have to actually do things. We
Yeah,
can't
we
just
have to
be
get something
like,
out the door.
yeah, musing forever. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It
how
makes sense.
exciting.
And so, kind of what with the things that you have changed, I'm sure that you've kind of shelved a few things and kind of put them aside for the time being. Do you plan on maybe bringing some of those back, maybe putting stuff that worked on or that didn't work on one character and maybe implementing it on a future character?
Yeah, we do stuff like that all the time, to be honest. I like any ability we've ever made or effect or whatever, like I never, for the most part, delete them. I just
Hmm.
kind of like put them in a folder somewhere and save them for later. So yeah, I treat it like a palette, you know what I mean? I have like stuff I can always pull from. Um, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we've got all kinds of like, yeah, I mean, at this point, yeah, we've got like several prototyped modes, and I bet there's like 20 or 30 like abilities in that backlog at this point that we could pull from. So
Oh
yeah, we got
wow,
a lot of stuff. Yeah.
it's amazing. If I mean, if any of you can kind of go into more detail, are there some other character ideas that
Let's get
are
this. Hey, we got wood
on the
footsteps
road
now.
coming up?
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Spoiler
we have a
warning.
paladin. Yeah, we have a paladin character coming out. He's been like, I feel bad. He's been like 80% done for like over a month at this point. But as I've just been trying to get the game stable for all the new players and everything, he's been a bit neglected. So I'm hoping next week I can get to him. Um, so he'll have some ability. He's sort of like, uh, kind of like a pretty balanced character. He does a little bit of everything, but he will be able to do some support. So we'll have that coming in. And then after that, we probably want to bring online like an assassin type character, because that's really gonna fill out like. I feel like you need that. You need some tanky boys, some supports, and an assassin character to really like have the whole kind of combat ecosystem flowing. So that's probably the next two. The paladin should be out already. I should, he should be done hopefully in a week or two. And then I think that's mostly it. Like we're gonna be having some more like maps and things for the arena mode. I think that's like mostly what's on the docket here.
Yeah, and we want to add some like non-humans too. That is
Oh, definitely.
definitely a goal because, like Pat was talking about before, we used to have just kind of like they all had to be like the same kind of proportions generally, but now we can play around a little bit more. So I love, you know how I love monsters. So I got to have some monsters in the game. So they are
Yeah,
definitely
definitely.
going to be in it.
Medusa.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep.
exactly. I love
Totally,
that.
totally.
Harpies. I love that idea. All right,
Yep.
let's move on to the roadmap segment. The roadmap, for anyone that doesn't know, kind of the viewers that are watching, uh, Alea.gg is the official website, which I will have linked below. And there is a page on there. The roadmap kind of shows basically fully like what you want to have in each different portion. Right now you are in alpha, and as I'm looking at it right now, a lot of those check boxes are actually filled. So like it seems like you're really making some good
Yeah.
progress uh, in kind of this alpha state. So what are your kind of next most immediate plans? It looks like it would be like a big stability test, like servers.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm reading this. This is like kind of outdated. There's even some things from the second beta that are already done. Like we already have the always on
Yeah.
servers and everything. Yeah, I mean, what you kind of learn doing this, people are always like, "What's the plan? What's the plan?" And it's like, the plan is sort of like I look around at my immediate surroundings and I sort of see what we can and can't do or whatever. Like I saw a way to do the servers quickly and like I just took it, even though that was planned for way later. So yeah, I mean, I guess really I should update this. Some of these check boxes need to be moved around or whatever. I would say that um yeah, I mean, the terms like alpha and beta and all this, like they're sort of like meaningless anymore. Even like launching, release,
Yeah.
like what is the difference? Like these things are all kind of like the same anymore for like a live service game. So I guess probably if we can get like a decent test and like 2 arena maps, I guess we might as well move into like I guess yeah, like a beta 1 stage where like the servers are not always going to be on, but they are going to be on like as much as I can and definitely on the weekends. So yeah, as for immediate stuff, yeah, we're going to be doing another map, like I said, another character. Um, from there, I'm going to make a decision about if we're going to go right into a fifth character or like I have this idea for a multiplayer like hub world, but that's a huge undertaking. Like I have to come up with like a server orchestrator for that. So we're going to kind of see, but definitely new character, new map. That's the stuff right there.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that will probably coincide with me like declaring that we're in like beta, which like I said, it's sort of the same, not much change, really just kind of like a title change, but it'll feel good.
Yeah, I do remember the mention and talk about the kind of the hub world at the tail end of Falco's live stream. And I would love to hear more about that, but maybe when you have a little more solid plans on what exactly it'll be and what it'll look like. But my big question, I think everyone is kind of curious. Can people play right now?
Um so the answer is probably, depending on when you're watching it. If you go in Discord and ask, like it just depends. I'm always working on the game, so I'm always like pushing builds and everything. But probably. Um I would say the good times right now, maybe this will be dated soon, but the good times right now is like Saturday afternoons. That's like when most people play. Um, but if you come in Discord, you can get a tester role and you can add people and try to find a game. And I try to have the servers up as much as I can.
Yeah. And you're pretty consistently, updating like servers are up, servers are coming down. And
Yeah, yeah,
you put that on you put it on X too, right? Twitter.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you're pretty good about that. So speaking of going into beta, maybe not anytime soon, but hopefully, fingers crossed, right? Uh part of at least on this table that you said is a little bit outdated. Um Part of your beta says that you're going to be recruiting and onboarding testers. Is that kind of already been in progress? Like what will are these testers going to be doing? What's kind of your hopes that they will get into like the nitty gritty of?
Yeah, we kind of did already start doing that. I mean, we streamed one time with like no announcement on Falco's channel, and I think we went from like 8 people in the Discord to like over 100 now. So we kind of like that's what I mean when I say like there's a plan, but it's kind of like fluid or whatever. It's like, well, all of a sudden there's 100 people in here, so now now we're kind of doing the onboarding testers thing. We are at a state now where um, really you're just kind of playing the game and giving feedback, obviously reporting bugs and stuff, and there will be bugs, but we're not really like we managed to like basically bootstrap our way through like testing core functionality or whatever. Like we're not really testing, match connectivity and things like that anymore. So we're really just kind of testing gameplay. So it's pretty straightforward. So if you join, like you're just looking to play, like that's definitely on the table right now.
Yeah, do you want these future incoming testers to like try their hardest to break the game, and like do you want them to report like maybe feedback on like how certain abilities feel and numbers and
Yeah,
balancing and
definitely.
stuff? Yeah,
Yeah,
put it all
definitely.
on the table. You
Yeah,
heard it here
yeah. We're
first.
just looking for we're looking for anything and everything right now. And the arena mode is good for that because it's like you can come in, you can play for 20 minutes or whatever. You'll probably play like, I don't know, 3 or 4 matches probably in that time, maybe more. So you'll get a lot of combat in. So you can get like thrown in the deep end pretty fast.
For sure. How long do you expect beta to be when you kind of get in there? The last panel here, your beta 2 says that you want to have 9 characters fully like made and ready to go before beta is
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, that's like sort of like that was always our release thing was 9. To be honest, I worry like I don't know if that's all I had to do was like get us up to 9 characters, I would really kind of like not even sweat that too much. That's like Pat was saying earlier, like that's like our bread and butter. Like we can crank a character out like really fast now. It's all the other stuff that is kind of the stuff I was like complaining about or whatever earlier. That's the stuff that it's like, okay, are all the servers going to work? Can everybody log in? Like these are the things that sort of like worry me. As for length, I don't know. I feel like beta's going a long time nowadays. I think Fortnite was like still in early access. It had been live for like 2 years. It made like $8 billion or something. It still said early access in the corner. So I don't know. Um, I guess it just kind of depends on what I'm gonna consider the thresholds. Like if I stick to my hard deadline of like 9 characters and the power race mode has to be online, be a while. If I relax those standards for myself, then not as long. So not a great answer, but definitely only months. Definitely not more than a year. Like that, no way.
For sure. So, well, part of the growing beta strategy is of course reaching out to players and sort of getting them to, you know, spread the news and play the game and kind of give ideas and feedback and such. So let's move on to the marketing segment. How do you guys plan on spreading the word of the game? I guess that's my
Um,
biggest one.
yeah, for a game like ours, um, like if you have a game that is like you're making the latest like pixel roguelike or something, like probably what you want to do then is you're just trying to like grab eyeballs. You know what I mean? Like you're competing with a lot of other people doing the same thing and you're just trying to do like audience share or whatever. You're trying to capture mind share for that genre or whatever. Ours is not really like that. Like ours is a little more specific and a little more targeted. Um, because the people that are out there that like this game are out there and they're just like underserved. So it's not like we're really competing with other games necessarily. More broadly you are like you're just competing for people's time and attention or whatever, but there's not really like we don't really have to go in there and like steal the audience from some other game or anything like that. So we really just have to make people aware of it, which I think is actually a much easier job. So a lot of people also think that marketing is like a vending machine, like you just put in money and you get out conversion. You get out players or whatever. I don't really think it works like that
No, not at
actually.
all.
I think especially not with a video game. I mean, maybe with other forms of entertainment, maybe with a movie or something, you truly just want to make as many people aware of it as possible because it's like what they might do this weekend or whatever. But with a game, it's a little different, especially a multiplayer game, and I feel especially in 2025, like games are like people's like hobby at this point. Like I think you could really very easily say that like Fortnite is your hobby at this point. Like you've been doing it forever. Like you know all the ins and outs. Maybe you take some breaks, you come back. The game's like more or less the same. Like you kind of know what you kind of know what you're getting. Like I mean, it'll look different or whatever, but at its core, it's like the same. And so what you're really trying to do, in my opinion, is just like find the people that are like predisposed to liking your game and letting them know about it. So stuff like this, like in other words, like you and your audience are definitely like primed for a game like this. It's like just let them know. You know what I mean? Like highly targeted stuff, I think is better than just sort of like this like shotgun approach where I don't know. You're gonna like I had a friend tell me that they like pay a streamer or something, and this person might pick up like 15,000, 20,000 eyeballs or whatever. And they pay them, I don't even remember how much money to stream the game for like an hour. And he said the conversion rate on that is like literally like 15 sales, like
Oh
for
no.
like 20,000 eyeballs for an hour. So like they would have been better just taking that money, finding people who are like, it's maybe a little more labor intensive or whatever. You go find the people who are more predisposed to like your game and probably just like, well, I mean, our game's already free, but I don't know, give it to them for free or do something or whatever. Just like give them a reason to like it, and then kind of go from there. So we'll do a mix. Like, I do want to probably target like, like kind of like lower or mid tier streamer people that seem to like a game like this and see if they'd be
We'll
interested
actually
in it.
play it
Yeah, yeah,
for
who will
a
actually
long
play it.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, and like actually like it. Like there's this misconception I think that like you can pay a huge streamer for conversion. I don't really think it works like that actually. I think actually it does the opposite. I think that if somebody tunes into a streamer, they're sort of like watching the stream they're sort of like simulating like friendship with the person. And so if they see that like they have like ad on the screen like, hey, I'm only playing this game because they paid me, I think that actually signals negatively with your game. Like, in other words, you just got 20,000 people or whatever all see their friend only doing it for money. That's probably a lower conversion rate than if those 20,000 people just like randomly stumbled upon it or whatever. They're almost like predisposed to not like it because of that. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
I
I think,
see.
yeah, I think you go for people who are just going to probably already like your type of game, and you kind of just let it go through word of mouth. Like, multiplayer game can kind of spread itself really because people bring their friends in, whatever. So that's my spiel on it.
No, it's great. Um, do you guys plan on like maybe getting publishers? Like if it actually starts growing really big and you're kind of in the need to maybe get even wider, arms out there to reach people?
Um, I mean, I'm very high in openness. So like, if somebody wanted to step in and give me a deal that is like favorable, then I would be open to it. Probably I doubt it at this point, like just realistically, just because I don't know. I mean, I kind of did that gambit. Like, I got in front of like I'm like NDA'd, I can't say, but I got in front of like several household name publishers and stuff, and just nobody wants to take any risks right now. Like nobody wants to do like anything. Like when I say risks, I mean like they just want like I don't know. They're like, how can I do something with like Disney IP and like in other words, just the most sure thing ever. That's like the only thing that's like getting any kind of traction right now. So we're sort of set up here where like no matter what, I'm trying to get us to the finish line independently, and like that's kind of like that's our north star always. So meaning anything that happened on top of that would just be like a nice like happy addition as opposed to something we really need. um but yeah, I mean, yeah, if any publisher's watching this and you want to give me a good deal, like sure, I'll talk to you.
What's the moving on? What's the plan for like income? You know, eventually the server cost and kind of all this work that you're doing, it's going to need to expand, and you're probably going to need to, start paying people and paying for better services. Like, what's kind of the idea for income, if you even have any right now?
Yeah, I mean, we have a little bit right now, but not like totally enough to sustain forever. And I mean, put simply, the plan is we're gonna like sell stuff to people. I mean, like obviously, um, but we have ways because like we use Web3 stuff, which I know some people don't like it, but it does allow us to be independent, in a way where like we can do more with less. It's very similar. We were talking about this. Like it's very similar to the recent lawsuit that Epic just won against Apple, which has been going on for like years at this point. Um, put simply, Apple owns like all of everything with an Apple product, like meaning they own the software and the hardware and everything. And so because of this, they force you to use their store, or at least they did until like 2 days ago. And they take 30%, which that's just the standard market rate. But
Right.
Fortnite's like an institution at this point.
So much
Uh,
praise up.
yeah, no, exactly. Well, imagine you're Fortnite, and it's like you want to be on. So Fortnite has not been on the Apple App Store for like 5 years at this point. Um, and so yeah, you can imagine you're Fortnite. You're pulling in billions literally per year, and then they're going to take 30% of like all those transactions. So they fought them on this forever. I really didn't think they would win, to be honest, but they did. And so now people get to make their own store if they want to. And Epic, kind of a Chad move by Epic, they're already rolling out their own store for other, which means they clearly like already developed it, like not
they
knowing whether or not they would
they had
win.
intentions.
Yeah,
That's
like
great.
they won the lawsuit and then they literally announced the store like the same day. It's kind of Chad move, I'm not gonna lie. But it's very similar. Like that's kind of like what Web3 is for us. Like we get to just run our own everything, so we don't really need to like actually generate that much revenue in order to be self-sustaining, because when you when you control everything, like that means we also make like what would otherwise be like um this isn't a one-to-one comparison, but kind of similar, like what would otherwise be like a credit card fee or whatever. We can actually like take that as well. So like if you do transactions, we're going to have lots of digital items or whatever, and you buy them and sell them and trade them with your friends and whatever. If there's like a small transaction fee on all that, like we can make that money. So it's a little bit different than like a normal model where like we actually can do more with less, because if you have an item that is like really highly sought after, for example, and it changes hands like 100 times, that's actually really good for us because we made it like a lot of little fee money there, like off of volume, basically. That's not really how it works. And traditionally, you got to just keep pumping out skins or whatever, you know what I mean? But we could actually make, in theory, like very high quality ones that people really want. Um, and our mod, like the way we haven't nailed down all of this yet, but we have kind of like a progression system where all the items in the game, they're not going to be there will be a storefront, but all the items in the game were generated by players. So it's not just like we release them or whatever. And then
Hmm.
there's like, you know, so what that means is like we could release, probably fewer like items than like something like Fortnite or whatever, which obviously we don't have the manpower for that. But if we make them very high quality and very desirable, people will buy them, sell them, trade them. And so we can kind of like do more with less. So that's eventually the goal. We're still ways away from that, I would say, though not as much. Like we have partnerships and integrations and stuff that are going to speed that up, but that's kind of the next iteration.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Web3 thing, because we all saw it recently. There was a little bit of a disturbance in the official Discord channel about Web3 and kind of what exactly people had opinions, very strong opinions. So I would like you to I'd like for you to further expand, if you can, on like what
Sure.
exactly is your uh deal with the Web3 integration.
Yeah, our integration with it is pretty straightforward. We're partnered with a company called Immutable. They're like the biggest Web3 gaming like firm. Um, And so they're going to give us direct access to their feature called Passport, which is how you can link a crypto wallet into the game. And then from here, they also provide us with a marketplace, so we don't have to build our own. And so from here, the goal is that there's really, you wouldn't know that there's any difference. I mean, we'll see how well I could do with the UX of that. But in other words, like there will be items. The items are, like I said, generated by players. I don't want to say too much about the detail of that because I feel like it'll change. But then once you have the item, if you want to, you'll be able to mint it on the blockchain, which means you can put it up for sale in the marketplace. You can trade it to people, whatever. Um, but it's, you have like true digital ownership of that. I know people kind of joke about digital ownership. It's like, well, what if I right click save it or whatever? It's like, well, you have the representation of it or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, I know what people get at when they're like a Web3 game. They're like, there's I don't know, like there's like you're gonna scam everybody or something. It's like the game is free, okay? All of the Web3 features are optional. You don't have to engage with them if you don't want to. Um, but I'll also say as well, like uh, as far as for like just this is like even more zoomed out, like just as like a framing thing, like yeah, like I do use Web3 tech and I do so with no shame and I say it with my full chest and it is what it is. Like if you don't like it, that's totally fine. You don't have to play if you're really like morally against it or something, but that is what it is. Like, we wouldn't be here if we couldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I went to a million publishers and I had like fully multiplayer playable demo. They're like, not enough. And I'm like, dude, like, what am I supposed to do? And Web3 comes in and it like totally saves the day. So, you know, I did it. I don't regret it. Is what it is. We're gonna make the most of it, and I think everybody will be sort of pleasantly surprised. I think 10 years from now, people will be like, oh yeah, this is kind of just like another way that games work.
Stand firmly exactly what the Web3 can and can't do. Love that.
I'm sorry, what?
I was saying, you stand firmly kind of what you
Oh
would
yeah,
like
yeah.
the Web3 to do and what they can't do. Because, in the end, it's still your game. You're the one developing it, and hopefully they can respect that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is what it is. I hope that you play. I hope that you have fun. And I'll say this: if you don't like it and you play the game, and you're playing the game, and you pull like a rare item, I better not catch you minting that. I better not catch you taking that to the marketplace. You said you were against it, remember? You pull a rare item, it's worth a bunch of money. You better not. I'm gonna be
Oof.
like SpongeBob in the episode when he catches Squidward and the Krusty Krab. You know what I'm talking about?
That grin, yeah.
Yeah.
You like grabby baddies.
Yeah, exactly. You like Web3 technology, don't you?
Oh no. All right. Back on track. Showcasing. Do you guys want to do you ever want to like showcase at a big convention? It doesn't have to be like this huge grandiose, large section front of the floor expo hall, thing. But, if do you want to have like a small showing, maybe like PAX, Gamescom, MagaFest or MegaCon?
Um,
That'd be so
I
cool.
Yeah, I would like to. I mean, yeah, I mean, like lately at the play tests or whatever, I try to not even play. Like I just watch people stream it because I get a lot more out of that. I would love to watch people play like in person. Like I think that would be way better. Um, and yeah, I do want to like interact with people. I mean, we're all remote, obviously, and so yeah, I mean, for the past year and a half, I basically have just been like like in my apartment nonstop just coding or whatever. Like I definitely would like to go and like interact with people and like see them and watch people play the game for the first time, kind of like I just feel like there's so much more you can pick up on, like even just like their body language, you know what I mean, like how they're reacting to the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I also just think the conventions are kind of fun. um I haven't been to one in a long time. I went to PAX once with these two. Actually, as COVID broke out while we were there, I believe, which was kind of
How are
crazy.
you?
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I would definitely like to. So if we can, I would definitely consider it.
Just know if you end up having like a huge panel and you've got like a broadcast going on with it, very happy to be involved.
Yeah.
Voluntary.
Yeah. You're like the OG interview, so
I guess I kind of am, and I
You are.
all right, let's go to the next, because we still have some time. Let's move to the next segment. The company. I don't even really know if you guys even consider yourself a company yet, or kind of planning on even making one. But like, kind of, do you guys even have a name, or do you just kind of call yourself Alea, whatever whichever pronunciation of the game title it is?
yeah. I mean, for now we do just kind of call ourselves like Alea, but yeah, I mean, under the hood we're trying to like get a more formal company structure and everything. Uh, yeah, I mean, like everybody that works on the game is like kind of like my friend at this point, so we kind of just like it's very loose. So yeah, we are trying to. The goal, to be clear, is to make many games, like to make a studio and all this. So we're hoping that Ilya can be like the springboard for that. Like if we can have, that's all you need. You need one success in the industry. It's sort of like if you don't have one, they won't let you do anything. And then once you have one, you're allowed to fail like 20 times. You actually can only fail. If you had one success, you can fail for like the rest of your life. Nobody cares. Or at least they'll just keep trying, So we're trying to, and I think this model, I mean ours is a little extreme, like we're like really indie and really small. But I do
Yeah.
think you will see, we said this like years ago, like I do think you're going to see the rise of these, like, call them double A games or something, where like they play well, they look good, they're even multiplayer, which like made by a small team that would just not even like 10 years ago that was just like not possible. Um, but maybe like I don't know, they don't have every feature or whatever. They don't have the like Marvel Rivals replay system or whatever. But it's like a high quality game though. But it's made by a small amount of people, small studio. Like I do think you're going to see more and more of that. Like you got this French RPG game that's like the highest rated game so far this year. Is it's like a full on RPG, which
Expedition.
yeah, Expedition 33, and it's like a full-fledged RPG with all the content you could imagine has to be in there. I believe was only made by 30 people. Um,
Wow.
so it's like pretty crazy, and I think you're going to see more and more of that because the tooling is getting better, um, and AAA is getting worse. so those two things, like in conjunction, to me, think that you'll see like. I think that we will be like if we're successful or whatever. I think that we will be a story that you kind of hear a lot of actually in like then over the course of the next 10 years or so.
Oh wow. You're gonna start
Ew.
a new revolution of gaming.
Yeah, I think it's already starting. Like you see all these you're already starting to see like these like smaller studios are making games that like
Yeah, exactly.
they're like a notch above indie or whatever. Like when you think indie game, I feel like you think of like Braid or something. You know what I mean? Or like Celeste.
Hmm.
But you're starting to see like you're starting to see indie games now that are like much broader like in scope. And I think you will continue to see that.
Yeah. If you guys do end up getting a company, do you want to have like a home base, a region, or do you want to kind of stay remote as it is right now? Because Falco, like not even like 3 days ago, she said something about how a bunch of different companies have offered her jobs, and she's like, "Can you?" They're like, "Can you travel?" And she's like, "No, I own a house. I want to stay right here."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean realistically we would have to just stay remote. But I would probably like if we really were successful, and I could do, like we had a little more breathing room or budget or whatever, at least I would personally consider like spending some time where the team members are, whatever. I would just go like digital nomad or whatever for a little while and, travel around. I do think there is something lost when you can't see the people you're working with in person, but it's just not feasible. I mean, just the cost of that would be crazy and all that.
Yeah.
But I would probably personally try to make sure, yeah, like maybe I'd, go spend some time with these two. Maybe I'd go to our sound guys in Spain. Maybe I'd go there. Cause yeah, I do
Yeah.
think there is something like I know everybody's really high on remote work, and I am as well. Obviously, I'm like a fucking hermit, and my sleep schedule is like ridiculous. But I will also concede that like there is something to like the human to human interaction that is kind of lost in translation there.
Yeah, that's very fair. All right, I do ask one more question about the company. Are you guys looking for more people? I guess you specifically. Are you at the moment currently looking for more people, like maybe more coders, more programmers? And like, would it? I guess you don't really have to answer this part of the question. I was gonna say, would it be like voluntary, or do you have a way to pay them?
Well, yeah, the answer is like yes and no. Like, so I would say like a short-term financial goal is like to turn on some kind of revenue generating aspect of the game so that we can hire one more developer. Like that's where, because like we do need one more. I am definitely realizing the limits of what I can do. Like even in the past like 2 or 3 weeks since we onboarded all these people, these new testers, like I'm definitely feeling the effects of uh being pulled away from the code base often. Or even like I'm still in the code base, but I'm doing things that are just like making sure everything is like working or whatever. Like I said, the paladin character, he's been just sort of sitting on the back burner for like a long time. And oftentimes I wake up on Monday morning and I'm like, paladin gets finished today, and then it's like Friday night and I'm like, I didn't even open the file. Like and I work the whole time, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely need another developer, but we're kind of like in a it's difficult because like I could probably go to like I could probably just go like I thought about doing this. I could like go to like a college and just like set up a booth at like the career fair or something, and like I could probably find someone, you know. But what we need really at this point, it would be like a pretty experienced person who is going to have certain salary demands and everything, because like we're not at the early stages or whatever anymore, and the time it would take to like upskill someone to like what we need would just take a really long time, like if I were to go grab like a college kid or something. And so probably we're going to have to generate some income here so that I can hire one more dev. That being said, the rest of the team is solid. Like we have all the stuff we need. But yeah, we definitely need one more dev. So I don't know. That being said, the Zoomers, like they do make really cracked ones nowadays. Like maybe I could go find one who's just like cracked out of his mind and he's just like taking Zin all the time or whatever. I don't know.
He's going crazy.
Maybe it's worth a shot. Yeah.
I've got 15 things on the job board need to be done by the week, and he finished them yesterday.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, they're kind of like a crazy generation where like, you talk to a lot of them and you're kind of like, is anybody home? But then like the ones that are cracked though are like, you've never seen anything like it. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll find one of those. Actually, we had an intern, if you remember this. He was kind of
I
like
do.
that. He was like 19. He was like a genius. Uh, he like the mini map that we did. It does like a. I don't even know how it fucking works actually. It's like it does like a depth pass on the game and it like renders it out like in alpha value, like white alpha values. And he did that in like a week. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that guy
yeah,
was insane.
yeah, he did all kinds of stuff, and I think yeah, he went on to he did like something. I don't know if it was for Nvidia or not. But he did like hair cloth simulation. He sent it to me, and I'm just like, yeah, you're like such a better programmer than I am. I'm like,
Oh,
dude, you're so much better than me. This is crazy. Like, thank God I'm just a little bit older. But so yeah, yeah, I like the Zoomers. They get a bad rep, but they're all right.
they
They're
have.
busted.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, we're old. And no, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
No.
we kind of are. We're becoming boomerfied.
All right. We have a little more time, so let's do the last segment. The community. Let's start with content. Can fans, if they jump into the game and start recording stuff, can they make content? And like, what would you want to be showcased? Because I'm sure not everyone is going to want to do an interview like this, and I definitely want to expand personally on doing more stuff for your game. So like, can people make stuff, and what do you want to see?
Yeah, I think people can make stuff. To be honest, I would kind of just let them cook. Like, I don't know, whatever you want to make. I say go for it. I'm really hands off with that kind of stuff. If you can, maybe like indicate that like this is early footage or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. If people wanted to make stuff, I don't know. I'm kind of open to anything really.
How to play characters,
Yeah.
systems in the game that are explained to other people. I mean, that, anything that would help get people interested and understanding little things in the game. Like, not everybody understands stamina or like stance switching is definitely like a big thing. You probably want to make videos of. But yeah, I'm really excited to just see like how people interact with each class, to be honest. So stuff like that would be really cool.
Yeah, you guys
I
have
better see you
this.
do some stuff.
Oh yeah, I have plans. Don't worry. Um, you guys have this whole section like in the when you load in the game. There's this whole other like large island that has like a bunch of target dummy statues and like all of the rings of all the buffs and debuffs are just scattered around, and that's really cool to see all that. Even though it's not like not not even all of them can be used in the game, but you still have them and you still have that active status.
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yep. Yeah, like a lot of the groundwork for the game is actually done already. Kind of doesn't feel like it because, like you said, it's not represented. Yeah, I bet 50% of those buffs and debuffs are not even like in the currently active character kits or whatever.
Yeah.
But they are all made. Like it's all there. Like our palette is there to kind of like pull from. We got to just like get everything stable so we can start iterating. Yeah.
And my favorite is the risen platform with all the hard
Oh
CC,
yeah.
but there's also the stability, and I'm just like, oh, that's like Guild Wars 2 coded right there.
Yeah. That's yeah. I'm pretty sure I directly fucking stole that one.
I
But yes.
I love it. I mean, a lot of the
Mhm.
you know the you said it way earlier in the interview, but a lot of the inspirations for this game is from Gigantic, and like the model of that game even of itself was like pulled a lot from the Guild Wars 2 like
Yes,
net,
totally.
Oh yeah.
kind of the stamina and
It was
dodging,
yep.
the way that
Um,
poison lowers healing incoming. Like
yeah,
that's
that's
directly
true.
from Guild Wars.
I actually was like, yeah, that's true. I should have said that for my inspirations too, because they had the weapon swapping too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. We even considered a downstate at one point, but it was like too much. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I was a huge Guild Wars 2 PvP person. I was like a competitive one. I loved that game.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
I think that was like how I got into Gigantic. Was because I was like, oh, this is like there's a lot of similarities here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I think a lot of the original Motigans like were from ArenaNet, so it just
I think that's right. Yep.
worked out.
Yep.
All right. So going back to the community, engagement. Do you guys, will you actively work with the fans, not just like hearing their feedback and like, oh, this character's too strong or like we want to see this, I'm talking about you all three of you will remember Gigantic, their community leaders, Sofetch and anyone else that was involved, they had like this whole segment that they had weekly on the official Motiga channel talking about like the community and what the community's done, and that was really cool. Like, do you guys think that would be something that you would eventually do? If the fan base grows large, kind of giving some credit to what people have done.
So I have a slightly controversial answer here. So
Oh God.
engage with, yes, but there's a line which I will not be crossing. Like I see too many games. They have this like relationship with their fans where it's like I would describe it as almost like unprofessional or something. Like meaning it's like uh it's very much like a parent who has like a spoiled child. They give the child anything they want. That's like the relationship of the game. And so like the players know that they can like get stuff like out of the developers by like getting in their Twitter comments or like talking about it on Reddit or whatever. And a lot of the developers like they give into this because like they kind of I feel like they kind of like it. Like they kind of like that people like them And like what very bad, very bad. I'll not be doing that. I'll be like, if you ask me for something and I don't, I might just do the opposite, like just fight you. No, I don't know if I would do that much, but I definitely am not crossing that line. It's like it is very much like the parent analogy is right. It's like, you know, you have to understand like you're the creator, they're the consumer. It just is what it is. Like it's not to say you don't value their input or whatever, but it is very much like a parent-child thing where it's like your child's going to be like, "Hey dad, I should have ice cream for dinner every single night." And you're just like, "Yeah, of course you're going to ask for that." But like me being the parent, like I have to know that that's not good for you and I have to give you what is actually good for you. So, you know, maybe you could have ice cream as a treat sometimes, you know? You kind of have to have like that relationship.
I don't think that's
Um
controversial.
All right.
yeah, I'm just like I personally what I'm thinking of is the classic WoW, like they re-released the old version of WoW. They did like a spin-off of it or whatever, and the developers were all just like known on Twitter and like people were just in their comment section like all the time. Like the guy would just post like, "Hey, we're doing this update," and they'd be like, "You need to buff shamans." Or whatever. It's just like, dude, no. They were like sending him gifts, like they were sending him cakes, and I'm just like, this is so wrong. Like this is not. There's like,
Bribery.
yeah, they're literally trying to like bribe him to like buff their class or whatever. I'm just like, this is crazy.
Yeah, there is
But
a limit.
yeah, I see that all the time. I think the Miyazaki, the Dark Souls guy, they asked him like, how much player feedback do you really take into consideration and use? And he said none at all. And I was like, yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, based, like, yeah, I kind of like it. So,
There's a
so
delicate
yeah,
balance for sure.
But I
yes,
think
exactly.
on the other side though, like if we actually do have a community where we really should get a community manager. So like somebody who can actually interface
Yeah,
with people because, you know, I definitely can't be doing that all day. Because, you know, like obviously we're really happy to have a community and people who are interested. So we want them to know like we do care, but yeah, like obviously there's gonna be a limit because we're not Motiga. We don't really have like a lore team or narrative. I mean, it is
yeah,
just kind of, you know, so there's only three of us really. Well, so we just don't have all the cool things that, you know, a bigger team might have to actually have fans make things for. Um, so I think until we get bigger or anything, like it's gonna be pretty limited, like Rob said. That's my nicer way of putting it.
That makes sense. I totally get it. All right. Uh, kind of the last question for this part. Where whenever you put updates for the game and kind of post things, where is that gonna be? Like, what's the big news outlet right now?
Probably the best way if you just want pure updates, there's like an updates channel in Discord, which you can like follow or whatever, and it'll cross post for you. That's probably like the if you just want like the latest build updates or whatever. If you want more just like general vibes, probably Twitter or X, I guess. I try to put a post out there like every day. I don't always succeed, but I usually try to get something out there every day. So it's
Mhm.
either like interesting footage or like a little clip or something. Um, that's probably the two big ones. Yeah, Discord and Twitter.
All right. So, uh, I believe that does kind of wrap up everything that I really wanted to dig deep into. Um, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about, share, maybe tease with what's coming up that you haven't talked about before?
Let's see. Anything we haven't talked about before? Hmm. Well, we got the Paladin character coming out in a new map. We kind of talked about that. Um, I can give you one sentence. The Paladin character has an aesthetic that may be considered controversial. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh boy,
What a thing to say.
that's
Um,
that's a note we're leaving these people on.
but
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
basically, like I just want to say that I hope people at least give the game a try. Honestly, like we're just trying to make a game, and we want people to have fun. No matter how you feel about Web3, because I mean, I have the same exact feeling. Like because I'm an artist, and it's a big thing for artists to hate it. Anyway, I could say that I at least know we're trustworthy, and we're just really happy to work on this. And it's really cool to see people excited to play. So please think about checking it out. And that's it.
Anything
Yeah,
from you,
definitely.
Pat?
I'm just generally excited about some of the character ideas that we have coming up. Obviously, like Rob said, there's the paladin, and um, we're also thinking about the kind of like roguish assassin character, and I think we have a cool aesthetic that we're working on for that one. So I'm really excited for character number 5.
I love it.
Yep.
All right, plugs. Any shameless plugs for you guys? Where can people find you?
I got
On all
nothing.
the
So this is
socials.
those two. Yeah. I mean, we
Yeah,
got the
all the
Twitter for the.
socials.
Yeah. We got the
Yoko
Twitter. We can
Punch.
put them in the. Yeah. Put them in the description or whatever.
Yeah.
Watch me stream and
Description
stuff.
will have Falco's channel. It'll have her Twitch. I'm gonna probably link the official Alea YouTube channel, the Discord, as well as maybe a couple other things. We'll see. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here, guys, and answering my questions. I know this was a long time. I know you're very busy, but yeah, appreciate it, and thank you for everyone that was here watching. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks, Wolfie. Woo!
Yeah.